Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. In this video, God has guided me to talk about working with God. I'm sorry, my dogs are being annoyed by some children and neighbors who are running back and forth in front of my gate only to annoy my dogs because they have other places to run, of course. But they decide every day that they only have to run back and forth only in front of my gate. So I'm gonna have to go through the noise because God has guided me to speak about this now. I many times refer to working with God and working with gifts and so on. But God has guided me for a reason which escapes me right now. I don't understand exactly why. To talk about training. I did write prophetic writings about this more in details, and I gave explanations and examples from my own experience. I'm going to try to sum it up now, as it doesn't come to my mind a specific example that God would like me to give. Essentially, God knows, of course, and the entire divine realm knows exactly what is the bondage you're supposed to be breaking. What are the forces which will be attacking you through those bondages created by humans? So throughout your lifetime, as I said before, you go through spiritual fighting many times without knowing. You dodge bullets throughout your life without knowing. When you reject a potential partner just because you see that he's toxic ahead of time, that's a bondage you broke. And you broke it the wise way, not going into the bondage, but from the very beginning, right? That is also a bondage breaking. God has shown to me, this. So God has shown to me this was supposed to be this, they meant this by this. And you, without knowing what is going on, just being your natural self, you have been carrying on a spiritual fighting, but without specifically consciously knowing it. So throughout your lifetime, there are many circumstances in which God took time to train you. Because God has shown to me when I consciously started spiritual fighting, when it's this paradigm shift where you have to consciously start spiritual fighting and understanding the setting and everything and the forces and so on, then a lot of revelations will come and you start understanding. So from that point forward, you make conscious decisions about it. It just means you evolved a lot, and you reach a point when the surprise attacks come, which are meant to preclude you from going forward. And from that point forward, when God decides that it's a time for paradigm shift, it means that from this point forward, your spiritual fighting will be so much more complex that you need to actually make conscious choices, and you need to actually learn about what is behind all of this and who are the actors and how to break bondage consciously, and to nullify contracts, revoke contracts, and so on. So this is basically God is present in your life throughout your entire life, and many things. One thing actually that will always come to my mind when I talk about training, I had many different type of trainings with God, and that is a way of you working with God. When God is training you, that's a way of you working with God, and when you start the conscious spiritual fighting, you will have to do that. God will come and will speak, but you must claim justice for this to happen. Or for others who have gifts in seeing and communicating with the divine, then it's already happening. Anyhow, the one example that I will give to you about training, probably because this was the one that traumatized me the most out of all the different examples that I have, about God training me, working with me to train me for specific attacks which he knew will come. I didn't know. When he was training me, he was not telling me what for. Never. He always tells you afterwards, after you use that knowledge. So it is important at all times that you observe what is happening. That's why I recommend taking notes, because then it comes back to your mind. Oh, God said this will happen. Or if you're in a bad situation, oh, God said to do this. So things come back to you, even if at the time when you learned that and God trained you, you didn't learn much. The example that I'm going to give you, it's one example which, as I said, traumatized me a lot. Basically, there was certain witchcraft done on me, and it started to be very brutal in 2008. And basically, there was a dark force which was sent to me, and I did not get a lot of explanations from the priest then when I confessed. He just said, pray more, just pray more. And he said, I know what to do, just you pray. The fact of the matter is, I learned, that was 2008, keep in mind, yes? I didn't know what to do. I just saw my own path. I continued on my own path, doing the same things, because I didn't know anything else. And the only person that I imagined to ask was my priest. And I asked, so he said, just continue to pray more. He gave me specific prayers to say. And he said, because I know what to do about this. And he didn't explain anything to me. And we continued. That was 2008, keep in mind. God finally told me what that meant only in 2018, when he started revealing to me all this information about bondage breaking, and about bondage creation, and all of this information which I'm actually presenting in my videos and in my prophetic writings. And essentially, basically, that was demon sent to me as an attachment, based on, I don't even know even today what they based that on, but basically it was somebody who was claiming my identity. So a doppelganger. They were creating a doppelganger. That was a very brutal experience in spirituality for me, considering the level of my knowledge at that point in time. Okay? And in 2018, God explained to me that was a demon which was sent to me, which freaked me out completely, because I didn't know anything about this. And I was like, what do you mean it was a demon? I didn't know what it was. I saw the darkness, but I didn't know what it means, and I felt the presence, and it was very aggressive. Physically, it was very aggressive. It pushed me, actually. It literally pushed me, that I because that pushed me so hard that I had to make 2 steps back, and I hit the wall. So it was a very hard push. It was very physical presence, sort of say, but there was nothing, because I tried to punch back and my fist would go through that darkness. Okay, so it was a very weird experience. I explained in details to my priest at the time, how it manifested, and it took me a while because it scared me when it happened. Of course, I said, what the fuck is this? There's nothing, because I'm touching, I'm pushing my fist through it, and it goes right through it. So it's clearly not a person, but then there is something which is a force, because it's pushing me, and I cannot stand on my feet. I have to, by gravitation, I take steps back, and I hit the wall. So what is this? Nobody explained to me then. Then God explained to me in 2008 only. In 2018, 10 years later, he explained to me that was a demon. He explained to me what type of demon, who sent it, how they created that, for what purpose, and everything that was related to that. And I must say that initially I was absolutely in shock. And I was like, this cannot be God that is talking to me. Because why would God allow that a demon be attached to me? You know, I think I made a video initially among the first few videos about this, and God explained to me, I needed you to develop the strength, and withheld the darkness, so you withstand the darkness. Because that was later on, I understood much later, because God knew what type of attacks will come at me. So God basically, and later on actually Jesus explained to me best, that we needed you to develop the ability, I don't even know how to call it, ability or power, to withstand darkness which is being sent to you. Because they knew what was going to come, what type of surprise attacks will come, although they didn't know when will come. So basically they said, defeating a type of darkness entity which is being sent to you as an attachment, as a possession, as anything, doesn't matter how they formulate it and so on, that gives you the highest level of power. Okay, so that's the highest level of power that you can develop because you also get authority because you defeated that. This is what God said. I said, what do you mean you left this darkness to hunt me everywhere for 10 years? It's 2018 now. What do you mean? And God said, yeah, but you defeated it every time. God was very innocent, he couldn't understand why I don't see the advantage in this, and I was shocked that God could do such a thing, namely allow that somebody would attach a demon to me, and God has said, I needed you to develop, I needed you to defeat that, and to develop the strength that you needed later on, and look now how easily you confront darkness when it's being sent to you. Look how powerful you are now. So this is, for example, one type of training. As weird as it might seem, many times to us in human embodiment, even to this day, after I know all of this, I still find it deeply unfair. And I still am not at peace with it and with this kind of system. And God does this very often, that makes you go through horrible experiences only in order to develop certain ability or to gain authority in front of certain enemy, darkness, or sometimes I'll give you one example, which is, again, weird to me, but this is God's logic. God basically said, so there are a lot of attacks being sent to me by my neighbors, and at some point I got fed up with it, and I said, to God, how many times you want me to go through this? You said to claim justice, judgment, and punishment. I did. When are you done with this? I passed tests, I passed fights, I passed everything. How many times you need this to repeat in order for this to be over? And for example, God has said to me, when they learn not to do this anymore, they need to learn a lesson, and they need to see, how did he say this? They need to see the uselessness of doing this. So they will learn their lessons, that there is, when you when you add up and sum up the situation, you will not gain anything by doing it. It seems an advantage on the short term, because the other one doesn't know initially what you're doing, but the other one will learn. And basically God said, these people are doing a lot of harm to other people, so I need to use you to teach them some lessons, because I don't have anybody among those being attacked by them who stands up and fights against them. So I need you to help me teach them this lesson, namely that this is useless. It doesn't matter how many times they do it, it's never gonna end. Because God was showing me their conversations, and they were puzzled. They were like, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. Why is she still alive? you know. And God said we will go through it when they will understand that what they're doing is pointless, is useless, and the only ones who actually lost as a consequence of their action is themselves. That at the end you will be the one who's not only victorious, but you will be rewarded for your light and for your fight and for everything. So I need to. So, for example, this is another way of working with God, and this is also a training, of course. But there are many other ways, more beautiful ways to work with God. And for example, my energy awareness, I learned from God. Jesus taught me and is always coming and doing soul healing with me. That's a different type of healing. But God has taught me how to diagnose energy. So basically, I can see if I do the energy diagnosis, then I can see the body as a map, and I can see what type of energy is sent, how it's being sent, and how to heal it, what you need to do to heal it. I do this with God. So God taught me how to do it. And this is actually how we worked. This is how He trained me. He would always show my own body as a map. And He will teach me, follow now the darkness instead of fighting it. I need you to do withdrawal of the light body and follow the darkness and see what is doing in your body, what is attacking, what is damaging in your body. So you will know which organ you need to heal when you receive this type of attack. So basically, He literally trained me to do this, sort of like a medical school. And this is very beautiful to do this with God. Of course, this is totally different type of training. I loved that part. But then again, there's so much more. And some of the training He does, it's direct. So He literally teaches you something. I gave an example, for example, also when He was teaching me energy awareness, He kept telling me to do energy, light body withdrawal, you know. I didn't know at the time. We were in January 2018. He didn't even explain to me yet at that point about all of this. So he was just saying to me, hide, just hide energetically so they won't find you. I didn't know how to do it. So then He took me one day and it was freezing cold outside. So He took me, He said, take your car. And He will dictate to me. He will say, get your car, drive over there, stop here, get out of the car, go inside the store, sit down, get outside the store, go on that street, then go on this other street, then go on this one, then do this. So He kept telling me, sit down. And all the time He was asking me, what do you feel now? What do you feel now? So I would evaluate. This is how I learned how to read energy and how to. So He would actually make me evaluate each and every situation, the energy of each and every single space, of each and every single moment. And He was explaining to me different things. So after He did this for some hours, I think it was 6 hours. It was winter, it was freezing cold outside. So basically at the, the end of it, after all these hours, at the end of it, it was cold, so I just I don't know, I don't know how to say this in English. I just basically squeezed my body like this because I was so cold. It was so cold, I was frozen already, you know. And I wasn't dressed very warmly because I was used with driving everywhere. So I didn't used to wear very warm winter coats. I would just wear light winter coats so I can drive, so I can move in my car and stuff. And God told me then, you see, this is how you hide. This is what you needed to learn. So basically what I did then was a light body withdrawal, you know. But I did it because of the circumstances, not consciously. I learned consciously how to do it much later when he taught me how to do energy diagnosis. and I got a grip on this practice much later during my spiritual journey. It took time to develop the ability to do it, actually. And I had to go through certain number. And let me tell you something. There are certain things which God will teach you, or you will know how to do it, but it doesn't come out properly. And some of them, I experienced this. As you do spiritual fighting and you elevate and you upgrade in ranking, some of it will be much easier to do. For some reason, upgrading has a is directly proportional with your abilities to work with energy. So you will know this, that many things will become easier for you to do as you upgrade. Probably, I imagine, is because as you upgrade, you automatically cut off some of the darkness which was sent to you previously, which that is not able to reach you anymore at the new level of where you upgraded. So that was another type of training. Painful experience was that, actually, although God actually interacted very normally and nicely, but it was very painful because of the cold weather that was outside. So that's another type of training which God does. There's many type of trainings, and I think it really pertains to what type of abilities you have. Sometimes God, because knows, for example, certain things. For example, when God has talked to me, God wanted me to do sigils, because a lot of sorcery was being sent, a lot of sorcery was done against me, and a lot of spirits were sent to my house. And it was spirit attachment on each and every item in my house. Everything, it was covered, everything. God called that an invasion. He said, this is an invasion. But God knew that due to previous education and other reasons, basically I will be reluctant. So when he's reluctant, when he knows that I'm reluctant about something, then he's gonna ask Jesus to tell me. So some of the trainings will bring together God and some of your guides, spiritual guides from divine realm, who actually are the masters of that field, and who will help you. God keeps saying to remember. Yes, of course, but we here in 3D don't remember. We learn here. We will remember as well as we keep practicing. It's going to be different depending on what gifts you have. Also pending what plans God has for you. I would imagine it's different type of training, and maybe even different type of approach from God to different individuals. For example, different to women as opposed to men, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure exactly what God intended me to say about this, about training. He asked me to talk about training. The one example which comes to mind always is that one, because that one shocked me. Afterwards, then I knew that some of the things were just training. I already made videos about this and about withstanding darkness. This is important. Some of the things that are done against you, you will only learn if you isolate yourself and you withstand the darkness. Because the problem is that if you're in communities and you're busy and you run around, go to office, meet people, and go to store, you meet people, and so on. As I explained, body snitching is and body jumping is being done, and then it's more complicated. Actually, God insists on isolation when you have very intense spiritual fighting, simply for this reason, because all of these, it's meant to confuse you. For one, to confuse you, because it's a complete stranger in the store who starts a fight with you, but in fact it's the same demon which body snitched, which body jumped into the human that you meet, just in order to. Sometimes they can do this like a curse that everybody you meet will have the same reaction to you, either to fight you, either to aggress you, either sometimes to make passes at you, whatever they intend to create on you. And this becomes exhausted. That's one thing. First of all, because it's exhausting and confusing to you, because you don't understand why a stranger is approaching you like this. But this is why it's being used against you. So this is confusing. And second of all, because that force is feeding. That dark force, when it's doing body jumping or body snitching, or even individuals, there are individuals who practice this in astral. Namely, they use the identity of another or the body of another, or they do levitation on another to convince him to do something or something like this. Anyhow, when this is being done, that force gets to feed on new energy from those people. So it becomes stronger. You understand? So if you're in isolation, the individual who's attacking you, essentially will go through that metamorphosis. The strength and the power of that individual will be less and less. And the body goes through entropy. This goes for everybody who works with darkness. People must understand, when you work with darkness, the first thing is that your DNA is changing. The DNA is changing through a process of entropy. And when you have an advanced entropy, the dark force cannot feed from you anymore.